This is a short introduction to the possibilities of M4OPS. That stands for Mapping for One Place Studies. It's a prototype system we've developed in the Society for One Place Studies to explore what mapping can do for us in our research and presentation of things we discover about our places. This is my place, Holywell cum Needingworth in Huntingdonshire, and we'll be using this as a demo section. There is actually a demo. If you get to the website, you can run through lots of things yourself, and this demo with use demo button and other videos show this being used. This is just a brief overview though, so I'll skip through things. Now this is a normal sort of mapping application. You can drag and drop, and there are two main layers here. One is the base layer. Now we're using here the Bing aerial as the base, but let's use a different one. Let's use Esri World Imagery as a base, and the overlaying for that we've got OpenStreetMap, and then you've got a way of sliding between them there, which is quite neat. So there's lots of different layers you can use here, and depending on the study you're looking at, there will be other layers. There's things like the Esri World Imagery and the Bing aerial and OpenStreetMap are worldwide, but there's lots of others for particular countries, and obviously we're in England here, so there's Ordnance Survey large scale maps. If I just turn that one off, so we've just got an Ordnance Survey 25-inch map there. We've acquired in various ways, maybe by purchase or other ways, maps to use in M4OPS, and we're taking feeds from other places as well where it's allowed. And we're very grateful to people who supported us in this. It's all very exploratory. So there's Ordnance Survey large scale maps. There's also there's a lot of several local maps that I've got for my study here. If I choose the 1764 one, and again we can use this button here to slide between them, so you can see how the fields are similar, and you can look at some of the buildings. And there's other maps there that I mean, that's for example a set of photographs that I've put together, hoping to get that map properly scanned in time. So you've got these two layers you can manipulate and choose between them, and also if you want to, there is actually a predefined series of maps, and this is the same maps but basically a different style. There's a purple button there, and that takes you through the different years, so you can go through the different maps looking at how things have changed. And obviously you can do this at lots of different levels of zoom. So there we are. We've got at the very large scale, you'll see some problems with the georeferencing, but that can be adapted within M4OPS. So you've got these two essentially raster levels, which you can manipulate. Let's go back now. In addition to that, you've got feature layers. These are things, for example, pubs. There's points showing the pubs that I know about and where I know them, and we've got data associated with them. So there's pictures and there's census data and other things. And we've also got, let's have a look, what else have we got? We've got modern land ownership from the land registry. So if we want to do that, you can find out the different parcels of land that are registered. So lots of things are possible with this. With these features, you can use either points or polygons or lines. In fact, here's one. This one I did here. If we go to that, you'll see. Let's put that over the top of the Bing aerial. because that's some fields in Holywell and an old road I just identified, and on some of the old maps you can see this road. And indeed, one of the more unusual types of layers is the LiDAR layer, and this is it can be a bit slow to come, but if we look at let's look at that LiDAR layer, and you'll see that where that old road is there, if I just fade this out a little bit, you'll see there's a bit of a ridge in the road now. Now that's remnants of that old road. Here's the current road on the LiDAR, which is basically height data. So you've got these raster layers, which are sort of maps and aerial images. You've got these feature layers that are points and polygons and have got data. These features, you can do cleverer things with them, and as we develop M4OPS, as people ask for new features, we add other things. So for example, take these census entries. Let's put that one back to OpenStreetMap. There we are. So these are the census entries that we know about. There's a lot of census entries. We don't know which house they were because there's no street numbers on the census. But let's, if we look at this one, you'll see the census entries for that particular building. And you can actually look at them in a list format as well. So here we've got the different buildings and they are highlighted on the map, and indeed their data. But a different way of looking at that is to look at the people. If you've got the people in the censuses, then obviously we've got more than some of people, we've got more than one census for them. So there's somebody for whom we've got two censuses, so we've got pictures of them both, and you can see. So it's a different way of looking. And indeed some of them, if we look at John Ayres here, we've got a picture of him, and we've actually got a link to a different website. That's my own website, and that's a link to his data on that website, so you can explore the parish registers for him, etc. So okay, let's close that up. So that's the sort of thing you can do with data. We've also got the ability, if you've got data, for example on dates, you can actually color code based on, there's the key, based on dates you know about, or other features. You can it doesn't have to be dates, it can be anything. You can color code, and there's different color codes. You can set them up for different reasons. Another thing you can do, if we go back to the sort of default just red, another thing you can do is look at time. Here's a time scale. We're including everything here on this time, but if I limit the time we're looking at, you'll see that some of the pubs, some of the census entries have disappeared. Those buildings are not there at that time. Now this is just an example of how one can use time in this, and we've got other ideas about making it dynamic, etc. So that's time and feature layers. Now then, upload. The whole way M4OPS is designed is that the data goes in a standard way that's flexible. So it's all comma separated, easy to create and manipulate. The data from my study comes from my database, and simple to generate, and I know about the coordinates of the different places, so they're easy to generate. The data for other things, for example, let's go to header set. For that study, they've got other lines. They've got the tithe map, for example. They've traced out the different fields and using free software, and that has been imported in M4OPS. It's easy to do with data. So we've got the owner and the occupier for each of the fields, and you can see as you hover over it what they are. Now again, you've got the list thing here. You can list the fields, and you've got the people, so you can look at the people and see which fields they have. And there's you've got the ability, suppose you want to look at the 1907 one as well, different colour will appear, and you can see that. So that's an example using the tithe map and more sophisticated polygons. Another one, for example, is port 11. If we look at that one, we've got data there. We've got OpenStreetMap. Now, OpenStreetMap is available throughout the world, and it's actually got a lot of data in it, and that's where this map is created from. And we've picked up a way of extracting those features, and they appear. So if you want to add data to these things that isn't on OpenStreetMap, you can add it in M4OPS, and that's easily done. Lots of flexibility, lots of possibilities. The final thing I want to show you is this feature here. Let's go back to these drop downs for selecting a one place study. Let's use this one where we're going geographically. So let's go to England and Cambridgeshire, which is so Holy Welcome Leadingworth, which is mine. So let's look at this thing here called MFL, modifiable feature layers. These, funny term, but the idea of these is that you are able to create features yourself. You're able to add points, able to add lines and polygons easily onto the map and save them. So let's create a feature layer. Let's add a point. Okay, give it a name. Okay, and now we just hover over it and it tells us XXS. Is not very useful, but let's add a line. So there's a line. Let's give that a name. And a polygon. Easy to do. Obviously these are meaningless the way I'm doing it, but you can add these yourself for your own, with your own data, and go down to any level of detail. Now if you want to, actually I've made a mistake there, that dot should be somewhere else. Let's move it. So easy to do. Or indeed, if I got the name wrong, just click on the alter and I can put in the extra X's or whatever. So you can then save that, and in fact I'll close it. And so you can put in other things. Let's create another layer. This time we'll have a bit more data. So let's have various bits of data, and again let's put in a polygon. Let's make this a little bit cleverer. Let's make a polygon round that house there. Okay, now this is more data, so you're allowed to put in more information, and well, let's give it a blue color. There's all sorts of possibilities. Okay, it's defined. This data set defines that the name has to be entered as well. So okay, so there we are. Now if I want to alter that, you'll see that there's the data. I typed it wrong, but okay, and you can delete data and things. So the idea is that you're able to create layers manually and then indeed download them to your computer, and we can make them permanent and appear up here, feature layers. So lots of flexibility, and indeed each of these features is added because somebody doing a one-place study has asked, you know, can we do that sort of thing? So it's very flexible. It's useful if you're looking at the geography of your place, and available to use. Indeed, details follow.